Welcome back to part 2 on this mini-series on tone production for the Shakuhachi, which, in case you hadn't heard, is not a recorder. If you missed part 1 on breathing, it'll be a lot easier to go back and watch that before diving in here. Link to that episode is in the description. If you're all caught up to speed, we can move on to the second pillar of tone production, the embouchure. The word embouchure refers to the way you form your mouth and cheeks when playing a wind instrument. The shakuhachi, being an end-blown flute, has a different embouchure from transverse flutes like the Western flute, bansuri, or shinobue. I've seen many Western flute players struggle to make a sound on the shakuhachi because they're trying to apply a transverse flute embouchure to it. So for my Western flute friends out there, difficult as it may be, it could be helpful to start from scratch to build your shakuhachi embouchure. But don't throw everything out just yet, because you can still apply your years of breath support practice. Shakuhachi employs an embouchure that's been referred to as the Buddha's smile, in which you put tension on the corners of your mouth and leave the middle of your lips loose. Imagine your lips are like a rubber band, and your fingers are the corners of your mouth. If you stretch the rubber band from the sides a bit, the middle will still be a little bit loose. This is the goal. Tighten the corners of your mouth by bringing them back, but not smiling and not frowning, and try to leave the middle of your lips loose, just like the rubber band. You should be able to easily move the middle of your lips with your finger, just like we did when we were all kids. But the corners of your mouth should stay the same. Now, to help you find the right size of pinhole in your lips, I'm borrowing a trick I learned from Yukihiko Mitsuka, the maker of my shakuhachi.
Find a drinking straw. The thinner the better. Tighten the corners of your mouth into the Buddha's smile we just practiced, and hold the straw centered directly between your lips and in front of your teeth. Build that breath support from the stomach like we did before, and let the air escape through the straw slowly, like when the imaginary candle was right in front of you. Do not let your cheeks puff out, and don't clench your jaw, and don't put your lips forward in a kissing face. Keep the corners of your mouth tucked in, just firm enough to prevent the air pressure from puffing your cheeks out. Try to keep the center of your lips loose where the straw is, and only tighten the muscles of your face as necessary to keep them from puffing out, no more.
Once you feel comfortable that you're doing all of these things, take a deep breath from the stomach, let the air escape through the straw, then remove the straw while continuing to exhale, keeping a small pinhole in your lips where the straw was, and keeping the rest of your face unchanged. You shouldn't be forming your lips into a pinhole, it's the air that's making the pinhole. And remember, the goal isn't to blow hard here, it's just to let the air escape naturally. Now, finally, it's time to make a sound on the shakuhachi. A common mistake beginners make is to close all of the holes when trying to get their first sound, when in fact it's much easier to make a sound with less holes open. So to practice producing our first tone, we're not going to close any of the holes. I've already made a video specifically on how to hold the shakuhachi, so I'll be glossing over the details of that here. There's also a link for that in the description.
Hold the shakuhachi with your right hand on the bottom, pinched between your thumb and middle finger. Place the blowing edge directly between your lips, with the shakuhachi sticking straight out. Form your embouchure and take a deep breath, filling your stomach. Let the air escape slowly through the pinhole in your lips. Now, slowly start to angle the shakuhachi downwards, keeping it resting on your chin with the bottom lip below the edge, and continuing to aim the air straight ahead. As you lower the shakuhachi, the blowing edge will start to inch further away from your lips. Keep lowering it until you start to hear a sound. If it doesn't work the first time, reset and try again. The shakuhachi should generally be held between a 40 and 50 degree angle with your torso, but each shakuhachi in each person's face is different, so there's no definitively correct angle for everyone. You can also experiment with sliding the shakuhachi slightly up and down on your chin, but not so far that you have to change the angle of your airstream.
Sound is made on a flute like the shakuhachi by blowing directly at the edge, splitting the airstream. So you shouldn't expect to get a sound by blowing into the shakuhachi. Instead, aim directly at the blowing edge, called the utaguchi. You may start to hear whistle tones like this. If you hear that, you're on the right track. Just add a little bit more power by pushing from the gut. When you do find your sound, try to hone in on the angle where it's at its most resonant. The shakuhachi is an instrument that's all about patience and microscopic precision, so don't worry if you can't find it at first. If you find yourself getting dizzy or lightheaded, you aren't alone. I had already played saxophone for 14 years when I first picked up the shakuhachi, and I was getting lightheaded for the first month. If you're like me, your lightheadedness isn't because you aren't getting enough air, it's caused by inefficiencies in the way you're using it. Here are a couple ways that could be happening.
If you don't keep the pinhole small, you'll lose the ability to regulate air pressure effectively, and you'll let out too much air, leading to lightheadedness. It would be like letting all the air out of a balloon all at once. If you're correctly pulling in the corners of your mouth, the pinhole will form itself just from letting the air escape. The target for your airstream should be the sharp blowing edge. It's possible that you could be blowing over or under it, which will waste air. Experiment with moving your lips to alter the direction of the air to find the most effective angle for you and your instrument.
If you do find yourself getting lightheaded, stop and take a rest before continuing to play. Don't worry, it's all a part of the learning process. Aside from inefficient air usage, here are some other things that may be causing you to struggle with finding your first sound.
If you puff out your cheeks, it will be hard to control the size of the pinhole in your lips and the direction of the airstream with any accuracy. Introduce only as much tension at the corners of your mouth as necessary to keep your cheeks from puffing out, otherwise keeping your cheeks as relaxed as possible. If the shakuhachi is rotated too far in either direction, your airstream will not split on the blowing edge as efficiently as possible, leading to a weak or non-existent sound. Remember, you're aiming to blow precisely at the blowing edge to split the air. So practice in front of a mirror and try to ensure that the utaguchi is parallel to your lips. It's okay for it to be rotated a little bit if you find that works best for your unique dental structure or lip shape, but don't let it be due to laziness. In your quest to find a sound, you may inadvertently let the shakuhachi slide up and down on your chin. If you find yourself struggling, reset by placing the blowing edge between your lips with the instrument at a 90-degree angle and slowly lower the bottom half just like we did before, blowing softly until you start to hear a sound or whistle tones. If you find your top lip or even your teeth protruding beyond your bottom lip, you'll lose the control necessary to form a precise airstream, and your air direction will be way off. Keep your face in as natural and relaxed a position as possible, and use your lips to aim the air straight forward. Some people have an automatic tendency to play with vibrato all the time. While vibrato can be a valuable device for playing expressively, right now we just want to practice producing a straight tone. We'll add vibrato later, I promise.
Getting your first sound is the most difficult part about learning the shakuhachi. Some people get it immediately, while others might take weeks to find it. Remember, music is not a competition, but a path to self-discovery. So if you're having a hard time finding your sound, the most important thing is just to keep trying, even if it's only for a few minutes each day. Mastering even a single note is a lifelong venture. So consider this initial struggle a necessary part of your personal journey into the world of the shakuhachi. That's it for now. Let me know in the comments how your journey is taking shape, and whether any of the advice here has helped you find your first sound. And of course, subscribe to the channel for more Shakuhachi related content and leave a like if this video is helpful. Good luck and see you next time.